Reason number 3. I'm going to compare you to a banana, but not with the intention of generic satirical cruelty. This is not me trying to be funny. I'm not here to laugh. Being more than animals, we all have an ability baked into our skin, which understands we are just one person in a big world, and that thereby we have massive power to affect it. There is a membrane just outside us which knows that as time moves forward, you can't do more than one thing at one point. We know that there's a cosmic dignity in not giving in to other people's orders. We know that as much as people accuse us of being undignified, we still have that dream of dignity that stretches into the universe, however lightly. You don't feel evil. You don't feel dumb. You feel strong. You feel in touch with your own weakness. You don't feel like a mockery-worthy nuisance. You don't feel anything like the caricature of a radical political movement. You feel epic, moving forward with your dream in spite of your flaws. You feel serene, respecting the lightness of your actions. Being careful with the weight of what you've done. You don't see yourself as anything like what they say you are. And here's the solution, my fellow human being. The stuff that makes you feel deep and beautiful and free from indignity, despite being so apparently lacking in niceness, is exactly the type of thing that everyone else is acting on. And, just wearing a mask, isn't even a part of that. And you know it's a fight not worth it. Especially at this point, when we're hoping that you stop acting kind of embarrassing. But you still move forward. You still carry the weight of your actions instead of dropping them. You build up more and more disappointments. You see more and more evidence that things aren't going your way. You see massive anti-validation for what you consider to be a badass form of kindness. You reach a point where you can barely defend your action. Your stringent boldness mocked by the disconnect between what you've done, and what happened. And every time, you shed your skin. You slice forward into time, taking pride in cutting away the past. Knowing it's wrong to defend one's hypocritical acts, seeing you must inspire frustration in other people to bring down their very wishes. Seeing the desperation in other people to connect your mistakes to what you really are, and not giving them the satisfaction. Moving forward, moving forward, moving forward. Embracing the painful feeling of advocating for yourself in a way your past self wouldn't, you feel yourself cut away at your supply of human dignity, in order to somehow make it sharper than it was. Becoming strengthened by unpeeling yourself like a banana, feeling so very fresh and worthy of consumption by reality itself. They accuse you of moving the goalposts. They say that you are being nothing but an asshole. But you don't feel like an asshole pumping out waste. You feel like a fucking ballerina, skipping into a new future. But you're running out, aren't you? The amount of times you can shave away your own dignity for its own sake. You can only do that to your skin so very much. You only have so many bananas in your hoard. Ripen and peel, ripen and peel, ripen and peel, ripen and peel until you look much like a careless mob, possibly insulting all benevolence which may ever exist with doing something so humiliating. All for the chance to prove somehow, some way, that you were the good people all along. That you were ascending to a dignity beyond all possibly dignity by doing what other people found insulting. The Commander-in-Chief has yet to get a proper portrayal, an adequate parody. A decent sort of stereotype version of himself. The person running this country does not resemble what we say he is, that is, simply a malicious fool who could have never offered anything to anyone. There is an energy he has that you adore, and I want you to understand it. I think it could be a key to something resembling utopia.
He resembles my internship boss from a strange video editing gig I had quite some years ago. He had a different ethnicity, a different upbringing, and surely not nearly as much wealth or fame. But he had the same eyes, the same mouth, the same posture, the same style of being human. He was somebody I did not love. He was not somebody I would call evil. He seemed to enjoy bringing people down as well as up, depending on what they did. He would use you for all you were worth, but he wouldn't try too hard to force you to work more than you wanted. He had a flexible spirit, but he was also dead set on making sure you put in the time for him. He was barely literate but used spelling to pronounce the names of apps. He was not great with computers but loved them enough to make them work. He created this strange little internet channel with not much to show for it. But he'd use it to get into media events, to which I would be taken to occasionally film his interviews and interact with people selling products or even actual celebrities. I believe at some point he had met your hero. Looking back, those days in that mildly dirty basement were the times I felt most like a soldier at war. Oh, how very much I refined my video editing skills there. Oh, how much I gained passions for doing good work. And how very much I'd have a somewhat skewed view of how I was supposed to use my efforts. Moving forward in life, trying to get a career. This very strange man, who called himself a doctor, was not a doctor. He was a humanitarian, but he also admitted to being a bullshit artist who negotiated payments for restaurants. His guy was a divorcee and had some kind of mail order bride. This guy did not pay for air conditioning. This guy kept a cat in his basement. This heart-tugging and fucked up good citizen of a man always made sure to put the cat away since I had allergies. This guy was someone who, much like the president he strangely resembles, was the type of person who was very good at making exceptions to simply being nice or helpful. He enjoyed choosing the right time to demand I stay later. He enjoyed getting me to choose to take on big tasks. He took pride in the way things were done inside of a shoddy little operation. He was very serious about forming alliances with people who also had their dreams of hitting it big in cyberspace. He would make fun of people a lot. He also really enjoyed having people compliment him. He never tried too hard with either. He always fell short of narcissism. He was good at getting people to smile, despite being a prick. He liked to say that we were a family, as if he was the apprentice of somebody who told that to him when he was my age. He would smirk and lie when I asked about other people in the organization or whatever the hell it was, actually working as much as I was contributing, away from the office. It was obvious I was doing over half of everything, and he was very good at getting me to go above and beyond my own abilities despite knowing jack shit about video editing. There was a time when someone had a cybernetic sort of feud with him because he alleged broken promise of a monetary payment. He was even a bit of a tyrant about letting me use the bathroom upstairs. Damn, that was one sloppy home. He didn't really like making other people suffer, but he never let himself be slowed down when accused of that. He could yield an immense amount of anguish by not being the same kind of fucked up as a typical boss in an actual job. He was somebody who could savor the understanding that he was a small person with big dreams. He could be glad about how much energy he put into the world, with a somewhat modest routine of video production. He was a very balanced person. He loved the moments of interesting imbalance, caused by making other people wish for some kind of solace from him. There was a time where I just screamed in his basement for 10 minutes, wishing I had something to call him. His politics were very bland and urban. He had no reason not to be supportive of all the communities he was inside. Whenever I made grievances about how he led me along into suffering through unpaid work, whenever he promised a new setup involving selling things for money, whenever he made minor accommodations for how the basement was, he always acted in a way that was not quite sadistic, not quite deceitful, not quite worthy of being what you could call a bad person. He acknowledged that everything he did was a little bit fucked up. Everything he did was almost sort of noble. He enjoyed that friction. He fed upon those tension. He felt like a real smooth bastard, despite being rather far from a handsome hustler. It was this man that inspired me to write because I just couldn't fucking find the words to say how much. I wish somebody like him could choose to fuck with people a little less. He might have been the only type of person that rarely gets portrayed in the mass media, someone who is rewarded for being a kind of a major asshole, but rarely takes it far enough to cause particularly dire or pathetic disasters. He indeed possessed qualities of a leader. There was a horrible magic to the way he treated me. I envied his comfort with fucking around with me while actually being pretty responsible. He gleaned a certain joy out of being my boss that I didn't know what the fuck to call. He tried to teach me how not to let nice-seeming people be nice, how to overcome trying to help others when it doesn't matter. He simultaneously enhanced and defiled who I was, a person who wanted to be nice. I looked toward everything I could to describe a person like that. And that's why I call it mischievous maturity now. Mischievous maturity is what makes someone worthy of respect bigger than respect, disgust bigger than disgust. This man, I'll use him now to explain why you think Donald Trump is a great person, Why, and I don't think he comes close to being what society should be praising.
When I was at this internship, most days I stayed later than I was scheduled to, than I was supposed to. Most of the time, I worked from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. I almost never left at 7 p.m. like I was supposed to. Sometimes I left around 10 p.m. or later, when I had lots of stuff to do. But usually, this is what happened: I would fail to finish what I thought I could. At 9 p.m., I would ask to leave since I was tired, very tired, and wanted a good excuse so that maybe I'd have a bit of time for myself at home. Doing all that video editing was pretty gratifying, but I could barely take that much work. And Dr. No Degree would almost always give in to my request. Of course, I'd rarely beg for it if I knew we had some extra shit to do. And whenever he let me go home, I could hear satisfaction in his voice. I could hear sympathy, but also lust for control. I could feel decency, but also passion for being above someone who deserved much better. Do you get it? I asked to be let go early, but it was already much later than I was supposed to stay. This was his own little fucked up, stylish feeling version of being balanced. Every time he let me go, it wasn't quite the same as before. It was always a decision to give me a little freedom. It was always a unique moment. It was always the same as all the others. The me of those days was the me of all the others. But it was never the same me. Every time he let me go, he felt some kind of strange satisfaction. And I think it came from this, the ability to make decisions you don't really want to make, creating an exciting friction. The tension of feeling merciful versus doing something practical, getting him high. The fact that he could have easily chosen differently, making him feel very powerful. The fact that he could feel my own desperation turn into gratitude, make him feel like a king. He felt glad accepting that I would have to do the work tomorrow, even though that had become mundane. He was enticed by letting me make exceptions to the expectation that all the work would get done. I allowed his heart to feel big. The heart is the part of you that knows everything is connected, and everything is not connected, depending on how you see it, depending on what happens. This type of stuff makes you feel very big-hearted indeed. Those moments where you shed yourself and leap into the future, find balance in the present, and create a past that other people might find interesting. Let me tell you something. This guy belonged doing what he was doing. But I don't think things would have gone very well if he was the leader of the free world. No matter what his take on the political conflicts were, or if he was able to make a campaign actually work, things would probably get really, really messy. It would be a marriage of his own lack of actual business or media experience, and his bold but brash decision-making skills, and the way he tried to get other people to imitate his own well-focused and graceful way of shoving other people around. He was not the type of person you could say wasn't living beautifully. He was hunting for his dream and enjoyed causing just enough pain and rage to advance his interests and find a purpose. He's not famous, but still at it. I don't know, maybe it's all part of something that makes him minimum wage. I would have loved to take you back in time to see a very Trumpy person be so Trumpy. I would love to help you see this man shed his skin so many times, heal himself from his recent past, and become overjoyed that he manipulated into taking actions, so much like someone using the internet to get the same old rabble-rousing out of his opponents. This thing we were doing didn't get messy, because we didn't have many people. We didn't even have any possibility of failure in our mission. It was barely even a business. If you put this guy in political office, especially without political experience, things would get really, really wild. He had the kind of personality that could allow him to sneak into a position he was barely qualified for. He had traits which made him inspiringly adaptable, and that was exactly why things would get bad. His willingness to fuck around with everyone, with fate, with reality, with the ability to care, even with the energy of human kindness, was part of what made him strong as well as vile. There'd be a lot of resentment, a lot of conflict, a lot of really weird failures. Maybe he'd get things done that a lot of people would like. Maybe some would see him as a hero. Maybe his personality would be enough to inspire people to support him. That, my fellow human, is where the disasters would begin. Being extremely eager to put himself in a situation where, swamped by complaints, by anger, by discontent, and considering doing the right thing instead of the controversial thing, he would take the latter path, tempted so sorely by the urge to do something exciting and special rather mundane and practical. And that's how we've gotten to the Democratic candidate, Joe Biden, such a normal old man with nothing really special about his personality or his desire to change America. This is Trump's biggest flaw: he's a very special, very exciting person. He can land himself in situations he isn't ready for, and for that reason, he's so dangerous. He is so ready to get extreme with life and time and fate and trust and power, that it's fairly hard for some major shitfuckery not to happen. His strength of adapting to circumstances and seizing so much power is his weakness, because he's absolutely driven by that. Rather than just trying to be good at the job he was lucky enough to earn, that he was fortunate to know how to make people want to give him. We see so much generic corrupt bullshit and buffoonery in government. Trump isn't quite the same as your average morally inept politician. He is not merely clinging to the dream of extra money in his pockets. You can tell by the look in his eyes, the tone of his voice, his very posture even, that he's in touch with what it means to go against your instincts about simply being nice. He isn't fucking shocked at being called out for anything. He can steadily, shamelessly go the other way when begged to do something decent. Trump is special, he really is very 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 special. He knows how to get excitement out of life. He knows how to get that rush from actually doing what is least wanted. He knows how to make people see other people as mediocre, because he knows when people are panicking to not be seen as a desperate rule-breaking motherfucker. Trump is constantly peeling his skin off, dancing hideously into the future, proud of the skin that he sheds every time he starts to break his promises, or differ from how he said he would treat someone. I can hardly give him a generic insult. He's part of what it means to be impervious to being insulted. He can slice off the past, he can unwrap himself, he can put himself on a new plate for which reality can be nourished or poisoned by his actions as the leader of the free fucking world. Inside that power is something really dangerous. Not just to other people, but to oneself. A danger and a peril that some of you happen to find the epitome of endearing. But I think you might be getting more and more anxious that the Trump experiment is going to topple over in one of many embarrassing ways, so much that not even you could defend. Few people would jump off a bridge for someone. He might be reaching the point where he does something even you would feel ashamed of. He has always counted on your support, but even you don't support everything he could possibly do to America. A lot of people have jumped the ship already. This doesn't make me cheer for them, even if I don't want him to win. I just see that they are falling out of love with what made them love him in the first place, much like I spent a long time trying to change myself from the effects this boss had on me. I modeled a lot of my mid-20s self after him, and it took a long time, but I learned to go the other way. I learned that most people don't function the way he does. I'm very nostalgic sometimes for the way the guy would give me opportunities to succeed. Here is my rebuttal of those who praise Trump, to those who see him as vital to America, not just for what he stands for, but for how he treats the entire world. The energy of Trump does not belong in government. What he has is not pure malicious energy. But it's something we should try to avoid for anyone holding public office. What Trump brings should be in a wide open field far away from those who we choose to be responsible for really vital shit inside of a modern democracy. Anybody actually planning to take the Trump style of leading a country belongs in a movie instead of reality. He should be a villain that people are eager to see, but terrified to see actually come out on top, perhaps as some bizarre commentary on what could be lacking in our government. And I think that as much as he succeeds at some things, it shows a flaw in our society that we wish the government to be taken over by someone who chooses to not be responsible, but rather, very very daring. The type of person who can play that hard with his country. That can take risks that obscene with the country he calls home. That's the type of energy which belongs inside of people without political power. That belongs in ordinary people who don't have huge responsibilities. Trump is a pain tantrum that should be done without anyone watching. The catharsis of Trump should be private and powerless. Government should not get you nearly as high as Trump. That kind of fun way of living belongs in your playground activities, not in the Oval Office. The things that Trump's fans do that they consider fun and epic and exciting are not so different from the type of allegiance that fucked over so many other countries in recent history. I don't like people being too eager to call him a dictator, but how do you think supporters of dictators felt? They got off on the high of "I can't believe all the crooked people are finally being fucked over and we get to kick ass." Communism didn't work out because it was a desperate, easily solution that didn't take into account the human desire to reach towards something better than you are, and the way that government controlling business just turns the government into something more brutal than a business. Communism and Trump are an ecstasy without a foundation in utility. I almost want it to be the case for a Trump-like person to be the panacea to the government. But he is not. His passion for messing with all possibilities of the present disrespects the people in the past who wanted a balance of power to exist, and the people in the future who know you can't run a country by not wishing anyone to ever stop you from doing anything ever. Stories should get you high. Food should get you high. Making art should get you high. Lots of things should get you very high. Being a billionaire business hustler is a good example of a way that people should try get high only at the limited expense of other people. And of course, political ideals should get you high. But this is what you could call a drunkenness on unlimiting yourself. Beyond the traditional relationship of purpose and result. You're so eager to see your results get smashed down as he makes mistakes, and then put more love inside of your purpose, your joy that he is trying to make America great. You're so very ready to feel your purposes get mocked, and then gleefully cling to some of what he actually may have done for America, as a way to shame the colossal crowds of haters of your hero. You always have some results to retreat onto. But Trump just keeps unraveling himself and building himself up over and over and over, until that itself has becomes what drives him. Trump has something which can be called incredibly inspiring. He just keeps moving forward. He knows how to get ready to ripen his frustration and rage, and just painfully, adoringly strip it from his skin. He could easily be called a daredevil at this point. He is indeed a daring individual. He is indeed someone who finds extreme joy in bouncing back from all the stereotypical accusations of willful incompetence. But when you're that daring, so very, very, very daring, so very in love with peeling the skin of your errors in your quest for human dignity, enough to make the obvious wrong move, mainly to help make your followers get super duper mega hyper ultra high on his defiance of people that don't like what he's done. And you run a country with 1/3 billion people, for goodness freaking sake. It becomes pretty difficult for these calamities not to happen. Government could never be so easy. To cheer on every altercation, every antagonization, every bit of rage that he expels. No matter what it is, that's not the type of balance that the government needs. Maybe it's just a rebuttal against what you see as wrong with government, a sort of vengeance against how lame government has been. But maybe it's also personal. Maybe you're just sick of people mocking what you call your way of being a decent human being. Maybe you're just so pissed at the media you want to destroy it with a meteor. You've got rage and you don't know where to put it. You like every sane adult dreams only of being seen as dignified. And maybe what you're doing, as in, not wearing masks, is not the solution at all. Not the solution, even for the dignity you desire. What you're really after is what you perceive as validation for your own version of being respectful and respectable. And you don't know how to make it fucking happen.
Perhaps it's the efforts of someone else that humanity needs. Maybe somebody or something else needs to rise up and take the mantle of flipping the world upside down and right side up again. It could even easily be someone or some group of people who are just average Americans who lean toward liberal, but aren't particularly proud of the party they support, and aren't foaming at the mouth to stop the Republicans either. Just people living in cities who want to be seen as decent. Someone or some group who cares more about people than politics. Someone or some group much redder than any political outsider, someone whose personal politics barely even matters. The type of people who know how to capture and refract the energy that good fiction aspires to. Some people who are disappointed with the media. Who know satire has no power anymore. Who can appreciate memes, and like the shit out of anime. Perhaps it's not a person you need, it's something which can explain the strange tone of the internet. Maybe what you truly desire is a community of people figuring out how to get people to just be nice to each other. I did not write my theories on human emotion during the coronavirus. I wrote them before. Nothing about the coronavirus or Trump's actions made me say, "Holy fuck, I can't believe we've reached this point." Everything seemed to play out according to my theories on what people are made of. Hundreds, thousands of times perhaps, Trump would do something and I would say, I can see the magic he's working which inspires absolute anger or complete loyalty. I can't tell what he does to make the crowd cheer or jeer. This man is like a cosmic freak who has something nobody lacks, just in a grandiose scale. I wish to surpass this type of person, and create a world where nobody would feel the need to try and support him in the first place. I believe that can be considered the only weakness of Donald Trump. Fixing whatever the fuck it was that makes people lose their shit when they see him treat his rivals as he does. Here's my theory: human emotion is going to be snapped apart and rebuilt. Cause and effect will fall apart for a while. There will be a massive wave of shame, not just for the politics of our country, but for how people treat each other at home. If Trump were to actually win, and recover from the virus, people would still act like massive assholes to their families and loved ones, to their bosses and employees. Here is my request, not for you to abandon your hero, not to support the Democrats, but just try and see the Trump in everyone. There is a Trump in you and a Trump in me, and it's the source of so much victory, misery, love and rage. It's pretty likely that Trump has already lost. But don't care about politics then. Just try and see what makes you want so badly for somebody like him to win. See yourself ripen as others call you out on flaws. See yourself peel the skin and tell them you are not fucking with me. I don't really get upset with Trump or his supporters when I see all this pro-mask rally stuff happening. I get upset with humanity itself for relying on satire to try and stop them, when satire was never something that helped us very much to begin with. You can't satirize your family, because they will just keep fucking moving forward with their own version of being a good person, and will never let you come out on top. I think some of you might be considering not being upset at wearing a mask. But I know I might not be capable of bringing you to put that mask upon your precious face. Because it's hard, it's so very hard, to do something that somebody claims isn't them trying to stop you. It's so hard to not want to peel yourself in the way that people you don't like are begging you to do. You don't want to feel like a banana falling apart. You want to feel the fruit of your emotions touch the mouth of the universe. It's so very hard to turn your back on what you see as the right way to stand up to what you see as cruel recklessness. But I would hope I've changed you enough so that you feel less rage. I hope that if Trump fails to live up to what the current you is hoping for, the future you won't start ripping off everyone's skin, disgusted by your nation. That you won't at least, feel the type of desperation that makes you when masks themselves become an enemy, and start actively infecting people, not even claiming freedom. It's not worth it. Nothing is worth that. I know some people will start doing that. If you do, I'd hope that some of you can see that for what it is. When people feel their passion for peeling off the past and separating yourself from others' anger invalidated, they'll start doing some really drastic things. A lot will just give up on their version of the American dream. Some will be eager to watch the other side fail. But I'm telling you, this is a chance for a new human victory. It's a chance for the rise of a new kind of dignity. You want America to be great, right? We have a chance to be the greatest place in the world. Because we've always dreamed of dignity. And I think the real obstacle isn't Trump, it's everyone. We're all ready to start a fight to break away the futures that pissed us off. That's all we've been up to. Masks do imply some things about what people might desire, but they're still the best way out of the virus. It's the best way to get past this present and make a decent future. Don't let someone else's lust for a future you don't want make you want to tear down the country where you live. This whole thing isn't even about government, it's about feeling respected. Believe in the dream of a world where nobody disrespects anyone else. The future will resemble the internet where we're all just trying to like each other. And being glad to not wear a mask will seem like something from a previous world. Please follow me to the edge of kindness.
You know why masks are so annoying. So now you can just put it on. Make it a brand new day and walk away. I left a note on the door, don't worry about me. I won't come back until I see people being nice to each other.